Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It's running late. We have little time. So let's get straight into business. Straight into business. The song says, I've been buried alive. And you know, in life sometimes you can be buried. But if there's one man I will not let bury me, is Alan Chasney. If there is one man that will never bury the Labour Party, it is Alan Chasney. Political leader, good night. Second deputy political leader, chairman, former Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony, representative for Labrie, Comrade Alva Baptist, senators, executive members, brothers and sisters, good night. Bonsoir. You know, Kenny Anthony had wonders. Kenny Anthony had wonders. And he told us that Alan Chasney would be the worst Prime Minister St. Lucia can ever have. And it did not take us more than 2 years to see the prophetic words of Kenny Anthony. This UWP is the most vindictive government we've ever had in the history of St. Lucia. And we all can give you stories of how vindictive they are. And what just happened in the last week showed you the disdain and the disrespect Alan Chasney and UWP has for the people of St. Lucia. As soon as they were elected, what was the first thing they did? They fired all the nice workers. And you tell me they're not vindictive? They fired all the nice workers. And I can tell you, when they fired everybody at St. Lucia Tourist Board, some of the same people who were working at Tourist Board tried to get jobs overseas. Do you know they even tried to stop them from getting jobs overseas? I know one minister that called another island where an individual was about to get a job and said, do not give him the job. Do not give him the job. Why? Because he was in the Tourist Board and he was supporting the St. Lucia Labour Party. That's how vindictive they are. And look at what happened to the National Trust. Because the National Trust did its job. Watch how they treated the National Trust. Dr. Anthony, Philip J. Pierre, and the other comrades will tell you, during the Labour Party, the National Trust stood up to them. Did Kenny Anthony persecute the National Trust? And I read on Facebook, Dr. Stephen King was an independent senator. And Claudius Francis will tell you, during the time of the Labour Party, the independent senators are on record for voting the most times against government. Did Kenny Anthony persecute them? No. That's not Labour Party's style. That's not how we govern the country. But for Alan Chasney, if you stand up against him, he believes he must destroy you. Look at Janine Compton. And we've said it many times over. If Alan Chasney can do that to the daughter of Sir John Compton, what would he not do to you? What would he not do to you? And for the last week, watch what they have done. And when people speak about victimization, I can tell you firsthand. I can tell you why. Because I have stood up to Alan Chasney. Because I have exposed him. Because my comrades and I have stood up repeatedly in the House to expose Alan Chasney. He believes he must make an example out of us. That's how they think. That's their DNA. That's what defines them. That if St. Lucians stand up to them, they must crush you and destroy you. And guess who among all the comrades he chose to come after, to destroy? Ernst Hilaire. But I've said to him, you see where I come from across the waters there, by the bridge, the old cemetery, Hospital Road, Fuacho, they don't make us easy. They don't make us easy. Alan Chasney, we will stand up to you. The Labour Party will stand up to you. And I hear, let me tell you, sometimes you sit down and you listen to stories. You listen to what people go through in this country, and you realize just how wicked they can be. And I want tonight to say to all the professionals and Lucians that have stood up to Alan Chasney that we are appreciative of you and we respect you. And I want you to give them a hand of applause for me. Because Alan Chasney transferred 2 controllers of customs because they told him what he was doing was wrong and they will not do it. And during the course of last week, the acting chief transport officer was transferred or caused to be transferred simply because they asked her to write a letter to deregister my vehicle so I cannot drive it on the road. And all she did was ask them under what law must she do that, under what circumstances she was transferred. The PS in Foreign Affairs who agreed to pay the VAT generated the warrant. She was transferred because she agreed to do the right thing. And there are many other public servants, I will not mention them, that have stood up and said to Alan Chasney, we're not doing what you want us to do. And do you know what they have done on every occasion? They have transferred them or demoted them. There are St. Lucians that stand for what is right. There are St. Lucians. Whilst we criticize some of them, like Chico at Customs, there are those that are prepared to put their country first. And today's demonstration, today's meeting, pays homage to these St. Lucians that believe we can have a better St. Lucia. We can have a St. Lucia that respects each individual. That under the Labour Party. You're right, sister. Only under the Labour Party. Only under the Labour Party. There are St. Lucians who believe in those noble ideals that we can have a country governed by law and order. And let us pay respect to them. You see, in the House this week, let me explain to you what happened. In simple ways. Alan Chasney knew in advance that the state of emergency was coming to an end on September 30th. Yes or no? He knew that in advance. So he had enough time to pass any law he wanted to put in measures in place if he wanted to end the state of emergency. Yes or no? They postponed the sitting of the House twice. And it's only last week we got to know why he did that. Twice they postponed it. He could have come out with the law, the bill. He could have circulated it. They could have had discussions on it. And then it could have passed in the House when everybody had agreed. But he refused to do that. Because what Alan Chasney wants is what he believes he must do. And everybody must fall in line. So about 4 days before the sitting of the House, last week Thursday night, we're getting a copy of the bill. About 4 days before. Of course, Labour Party, it is shared among our people for advice, to give us feedback, and it is shared on Facebook. And all of a sudden, all the civil society organizations are seeing that bill for the first time. For the first time. The Bar Association had never seen it before it went on Facebook. Had not seen it. And then these organizations are saying to the Prime Minister, can you just have some consultation on the bill? Not that he should not have any protocols in place. Not that he should do nothing for COVID prevention and control. All they said is, there are some aspects of it we have a difficulty with. Can we discuss it? What would be Alan Chasney's response? No. I say the bill going through, the bill goes through. That's his attitude. So we would go to the House on Tuesday, and to make it worse now, Alan Chasney decides, I am not waiting to debate this bill as the last item. I want to bring it forward. But how can you do that? Dr. Anthony stands up and says, Mr. Speaker, that cannot be done. Once we've agreed to the agenda, once the meeting has started, we need to follow the agenda. if you want to go to the last item, postpone all the items before it. No, I want to start it now and I'll come back to what I left behind. You cannot do that. That's not how Parliament operates. So what happens? The Speaker says, give me 10 minutes to go and reflect on it and get advice. It took 2.5 hours. The people didn't edit a bagay wrong. You knew something was wrong. And you knew Dr. Anthony was right when he told him what he wanted to do was improper. And then he comes back and he gives some cuckoo macaque, some kind of explanation. And I stood up to him and I said, Mr. Speaker, under what authority are you doing that? And the lazy one from Grizzly stands next to me, huffing and puffing. If I had stretched my elbow, I'd probably even hit him in his face. But I'm a disciplined man. I'm not a violent man. And they proceeded to act in a manner which is improper in the House to put through a bill that people are begging them not to put through. Let's just discuss it. And the political leader stood up and he appealed to the Prime Minister, please do not go through with the bill. All these organizations have said to you, do not go through, let us discuss it. The political leader begged him, and you could have heard in the tone of the political leader the pleading, do not go through with the bill. And he was very clear in his mind, I am going through with this bill with no changes. At this point, we left the Parliament chambers. We left the Parliament chambers. At that point, it made no sense for us to stay there and for us to quarrel and argue when you've already told us you're making no changes. It made no sense. And we had to show you we were going to protest. We were going to show you we were going to protest. And we knew that the people of St. Lucia would come out and show their disgust for what the Prime Minister had done. Let me tell you something. The Senate meeting is a travesty of justice, of good governance and fairness. How can you bring in 2 temporary senators, swear them in, and then say, I now have a quorum? How you start in the meeting without a quorum, swearing 2 people and saying, now we have a quorum, let's proceed with the business. Our lawyers will advise us exactly what we can do, and the political leader will speak more about that. That's his responsibility. But there's no way as a member of the St. Lucia Labour Party, and I know my comrades feel the same way, we're going to sit by idly and let Alan Shastney get away with what he did. Never. Never. And let me tell you something. I've never seen a bill become law so fast. The Senate met in the afternoon. It went to the GG. He signed it. It went straight to print and it was published that same night. By 7:30 I got a copy telling me it's already law in St. Lucia. And not just law. Mary Isaac already issued orders and done it. And had the first order she ordered. There cannot be 500 people meeting together in any one place. She wanted to prevent us from marching today. But let me tell you, let's say thanks to the Commissioner of Police. Let's say thanks to the Commissioner of Police. We are not meeting here today because Alan Shastney wanted us to meet. When the state of emergency ended, the party called the commission and said, we applied for a march on the 4th of October. Can we proceed now? There's no state of emergency. And he said, I have no reason to stop you all. Proceed. Alan Shastney. Nothing to do with him. But let me tell you something. Alan Shastney could have avoided all those problems. There was a simple thing he could have done. He could have asked the Governor General to extend the state of emergency for 1 more week. For 1 more week. And then we would have had all the discussions and negotiations. He didn't have to swear in any senator. There was no law of necessity. None. There was no urgency to pass no law. All he had to do was extend it for 1 week. He didn't need to come to Parliament. The Governor General can make a proclamation and it can last for 1 week. So if Alan Shastney wanted negotiations, All he had to do was extend the state of emergency, and we would have had all the negotiations next week. Do you know, in all what was going on, as far as I know, Alan Chassé never picked up his phone and called Philip J. Pierre and say, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, we have a situation, let's talk about it. He's not man enough to do that, because he's vindictive. You see how Alan Chassé behaved in the House with those senators? Is the same attitude he have in my matter, the same attitude towards John in Compton, the same attitude towards the National Trust. It's the same pattern of behavior. And that's why we must vote him out at the next general elections. That's why we must vote him out. Let me tell you, any prime minister that will call the opposition parliamentarians barking dogs, any prime minister that will call you the people jackasses, you know what he thinks of you. That's what he thinks of you, the people of St. Lucia. And I want you to understand that. When Alan Chassé comes on the television and asks for forgiveness and starts to cry and tell you to forgive him and give him another chance, tell him, you are what you are. If you quack like a duck, you walk like a duck, then you are a duck. That's what you are. Alan Chassé is nothing but a vindictive person. He has shown us that over and over again. So my people of Labour, they've issued an order, say no more than 500 people. And you know why they're doing it? They're afraid of the power of the people. They see what the people can do if they're allowed to meet like today. If they're allowed to protest, this is what they're afraid of. But let our hearts not be troubled. We will be on the ground working. We will be in our constituencies mobilizing, because the big day is coming. The big day is coming. That day must come when every single one of them have to face judgment in the ballot box. Every single one of them. And let me tell you, Alan Chassé has sworn that Ernst Hilaire will not go up for elections. Master Kimani Professor. And I've said to tell them, the only way he can stop me is if they kill me. Because there's no other way they can stop me. Because I know the people of Castries South. I know them. And they have all about 5 or 6 of them all over the place. Don't worry about them. 5 of them campaigning against me. 5. But you know what? I am part of a strong family, the St. Lucia Labour Party. I am part of a strong family. My strength in Castries South is not just my strength, it's the St. Lucia Labour Party strength in Castries South. And you see what happened in the last election? We'll be ready this time for them. I don't want anybody to get worried. Like our political leader says, keep your eyes on the prize. Because Alan Chassé must go. Alan Chassé must go. Brothers and sisters, peace and love. Good night.